Hey there and welcome, my name is Pete and this is the 12th and last channel update video of the year 2019. Now, as always, we will in just a second begin with a brief look back at the previous month, but then I want to spend this video talking a bit about the past year, even though a full review of 2019 will only happen once the year has actually ended, so that will be part of the next channel update video. Now, November was once again a little on the slow side. I can't really put my finger on why that was though. I already mentioned it in one of my previous videos, I think it was an XCOM episode, where I said that the cold and darkness of winter tend to bring my mood down from time to time, so occasionally I find myself in a bit of a motivational hole. That resulted in me uploading not as often as I normally do, for which I apologize, but I hope you understand that these things should not be forced. Additionally, and I think I haven't actually talked a lot about that yet, I am also pretty busy at the university where I'm currently teaching my first course. And I will admit I kind of underestimated the amount of time that goes into preparing a well-structured weekly 90-minute seminar, so that did probably also have an impact on my video output. What's actually pretty cool though is that my students are also producing videos as part of their course assignments, and even though not all of them have handed their work in yet, what I have already seen is incredibly well done and really reaffirms my belief that video is becoming an increasingly important format, not only in the realms of entertainment and information, but also in education for all ages. Now, from an academic standpoint, there are of course limitations imposed by this format compared to, let's say, a 20-page full paper or a 30-minute PowerPoint presentation, but I believe that it is also part of our job as people working in academia to see these limitations more as challenges worth tackling and not always as reasons not to try new formats in the first place. I will admit though, it is of course also nice to be able to let parts of my passion for making videos flow into my regular job, and seeing the students enjoy this slightly different kind of assignment feels great as well. Now, if we dive a little deeper into the numbers for November here and compare them with the month before, then you can see that the channel did about as well as it did in October. However, you can also see that I did not give a number for the comments in November, which brings me to my next point. As you may have heard, over the last few months, YouTube gradually introduced their new Creator Studio, so the place where you can manage your videos, have a look at all the comments, monetization options, channel settings, and stuff like that. During this process, they also introduced a new analytics dashboard, and I am personally not a big fan of it. As an academic researcher, I really like diving into the data behind my channel, but I find the new Creator Studio to be incredibly tedious to work with. And not only on the analytics side, where I just spent a good 15 minutes trying to find the total number of comments for the last month, without success I might add, but for example also when it comes to placing ad breaks. The old studio allowed you to manually place ad breaks in a video at points that made sense to you, whereas the new studio automates this process, and I don't like that at all because not only does it remove all control over how many ad breaks there are, but also about where they appear. Overall, I simply feel like everything takes just a few clicks more in this new version of the Creator Studio. Things are just not as intuitive as they were before, and even though it has not affected my work on YouTube too much, it is annoying in those few times a month where I want to take a closer look at some data or want to fine-tune things behind the scenes. For now, there is thankfully still the option to use the old studio, but the analytics part, for example, has already been completely moved to the new version, and I expect the rest of the features to follow suit sooner rather than later. So for the upcoming channel update videos, I might have to get rid of the number of comments entirely, unless one of you can tell me where to find it, or I might even remove this data overview altogether, but that depends on whether or not you would like to see it stay, and whether or not you find this type of information worthwhile. Maybe you can let me know in the comments what you think about it, so that I can make the necessary adjustments for the next update video in January. Speaking of leaving comments, there is another thing I would like to know from you. Since it is the end of the year, you have probably also heard a lot of talk about the games of the year, and I would like to know which games impressed you the most in 2019. That can be either games that were released this year or older games that you have only gotten around to play this year. In any case, I feel like especially over the last few months, quite a few promising new titles were released, and I would be very interested to hear what this community thought about them. And I will actually start and give you my picks. My game of the year 2019 is probably A Plague Tale: Innocence for its absolutely amazing storytelling and atmosphere. I played the demo earlier this year and shared my emotional overwhelmedness, if you will, over on Discord, and afterwards I continued playing, and even though the gameplay mechanics can be somewhat repetitive at times, the story that is told and the way it is told makes it my #1 pick. It is followed closely, however, by Planet Zoo, the long-awaited spiritual successor to Zoo Tycoon, a game that I played for hours upon hours as a child, and finally having an up-to-date zoo simulation game again brings back a lot of fond memories. Not to mention, of course, the engine behind the game allows for almost unlimited creativity, the animals look gorgeous, and the management aspect is actually somewhat challenging, at least in the early stages of the game, so all in all, in my opinion, the game deserves a lot of the praise it received. But how about you guys? Which games left a lasting impression on you? Did you enjoy some of the new RPG games like Greedfall, Disco Elysium or The Outer Worlds? Or what about the new Resident Evil or Sekiro Shadows Die Twice? Would you maybe also count the PC release of Red Dead Redemption 2? And of course, as a big Star Wars fan myself, what do you think about Jedi Fallen Order? Let me know your favorites in the comments below. I would really like to see what you played and most importantly enjoyed this year. And with that, I would also like to slowly wrap things up. I want to take a moment here to say thank you to all of you for a wonderful 2019. I know the year isn't over yet, but so far it has been a lovely time and I'm sure the remaining few days will be no different. Before we make the cut, there are also a few select people I would like to thank individually, and those would be all of the patrons who have joined the Pete Complete Patreon in the last month. And there are actually quite a few of you this month, so a shout out and a big thank you goes out to Supper, Patrick Hector, His Laziness, Brandon Shadle, Bloodrose, Courtney, Light, Jason Bukata, CM, Zione, Lucas Guillot, Darkvirus969, Infothron, J Crow, Till Oddmans, Matt Blackie, Peter Simon and Alex Hoeing. Thank you all so much for your support. For those of you in the postcard tier and above, your postcards are already on the way, and I'm cautiously optimistic that they arrive in time with the Christmas mail. And that's it for today and for 2019. The next channel update video will be in January, but there will of course also be a few gameplay videos in the meantime. So stay tuned for those and enjoy the rest of the year, have a great time with your friends and family, and don't let winter drag your mood down too much. Now, as always, if you liked this video, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up, and if you want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe or also support me over on Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.